APC today holds its first National Executive Council meeting for the year 2025, but the national chairman raises alarm on parties' indebtedness over legal burden. And the House of Reps today began a public scrutiny of the tax reform bill to be getting more details on some of the critical questions that are being asked in the interest of the Nigerian people. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Today, it does look like the APC has been able to catch the air, or what has become like an air, difficult to catch before now, which is the NEC meeting they've not been able to hold for several months. Now, the first edition of the NEC meeting is held today in Abuja, and we'll be getting to know the outcomes tonight on the program. Of course, we'll be getting to scrutinize also the engagement on the floor of the National Assembly, where the scrutiny into the public debate over the tax reform bills started in the Green Chambers. So, before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Special Offences Court in Lagos has refused to stop hearing the corruption allegations made against the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Rahman Oshodi, in his ruling on Wednesday, dismissed a request for him to recuse himself from the trial, stating that the allegations of bias against him were unsubstantiated. Citing a range of legal authorities, the court held that judicial bias is insufficient to justify disqualification or recusal, adding that it must be personal or based on some judicial reasoning. The judge subsequently held that the application for his recusal lacked merit, and he promptly refused it. The governor of Benue State, Hyacinth Alia, has denied removing the chief judge of the state, Justice Maurice Ikpembese. Speaking on the sidelines of the National Executive Committee meeting of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja, Governor Alia says he only acted on the recommendations of the State House of Assembly by forwarding their position to the National Judicial Council.
I read their documentations, I read all the labeled allegations and everything. But this was not endorsed for the removal and the swearing in of another CJ, because the procedure had to be followed. I understand the process.
Meanwhile, former federal lawmaker Senator Barnabas Gemade has thrown his weight behind removal of Justice Maurice Ikpembese as the chief judge of Benue State. Senator Gemade, who leads the Benue APC Elders Forum, says Justice Ikpembese failed to contain the industrial action by judiciary workers. And since his removal, the closure of the judiciary complex will only end when the right person steps in as the state's chief judge. According to him, the State Assembly is right to remove Justice Ikpembese based on Section 292 of the Constitution.
What that is happening in this state is based on interferences from elements outside who feel that things must happen the way they want, and that whatever the state must be run as if it was their personal property. And it is high time that we know that states cannot be run as personal properties of individuals.
Serving councillors of the 255 wards in the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State have passed a vote of confidence on the state governor, Senator Uba Sani, endorsing him for a second term in office come 2027. The councillors, who made the unanimous decision during a meeting in Kaduna, reviewed the governor's performance and praised him for delivering on his campaign promises, especially in tackling insecurity, restoring peace, unity, transforming rural communities, and running an inclusive government, among other accomplishments. The World Health Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, are calling on state governments to scale up budgetary allocations for health. The renewed call for increased funding for health was made at a meeting to review the implementation of a memorandum of understanding that UNICEF signed with 8 state governments in 2022. According to the World Health Organization, global funding for vaccines and immunization is dwindling, and state governments need to step up to fill the void.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup story. So we begin with our top conversation tonight, which is about the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Today, it held its very first National Executive Council meeting of the year 2025. Leaders of the party and members of NEC converged at the National Secretariat of the party here in Abuja for the NEC meeting, which held, of course, at the midday of today. It was heavily guarded by security operatives, and the president and the vice president were in attendance. But the chair of the meeting, which is the national chairman of the party and former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, says the party is making efforts to mend internal divisions and bring aggrieved members back into its fold. He says efforts to resolve internal disputes were already producing positive results, and Ganduje explains that the APC had initiated high-level discussions among stakeholders to address lingering disagreements and strengthen party's unity. Let me allow you to listen to part of what Mr. Ganduje says, plus the alarm he raised over the financial state of the party. He did say the party is indebted over some litigation issues, and that the legal advisor of the party is taking care of things. So you will be able to listen to the party's Governors Forum chair.
Your Excellency, we have also embarked on massive reconciliation of aggrieved party members, and this move is gradually yielding desired positive results for the party. Through dialogue, we have initiated high-level discussions among party leaders and other stakeholders with a view to resolve lingering differences between our members. The current National Working Committee inherited debts and legal liabilities to the total tune of 8,987,874,663 naira from all the cases outlined above, ranging from legal engagements during pre-election matters, election cases, and appeals for legislative, governorship, and presidential elections. Details are also contained in the document report from the Office of the National Legal Advisor in your folder. While the National Legal Advisor has been making frantic efforts towards reducing the debt burden through dialogue and other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, however, we still passionately appeal to the National Executive Committee to intervene accordingly.
That's the national chairman of the party. The president also spoke, which I will bring to you in a short while. But there are other leaders of the party, like the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, had a few things to say. Take a listen to him.
And he told me that the situation of the country was such that nobody should think of election. Let us rather think of the survival of the nation. So we reflect on when you took over as president of Nigeria. And we realized that we did not know where we were going. Among the things they did not say was the fact that in previous administrations, to even undertake payment of salaries, they needed to print the currency without any production, without earnings. But under you, ways and means have been brought to an end. So I want to congratulate you.
Mr. President, as we strengthen our currency, inflation has significantly declined, dropping from 18.2% in mid-2024 to 12.5% by the end of the year. This drop is largely driven by targeted policies such as subsidy reforms and strategic price stabilization interventions, easing the burden on the Nigerian people. Moreover, after a challenging period marked by erratic rains and insecurity, our agricultural sector has rebounded.
Nigeria's economy is stabilizing with stronger fundamentals, increase in non-oil revenue, It is important for NEC to note that despite the epilepsy in the oil sector, the economy is able to move relying on non-oil revenue. A case that is unprecedented and that has never happened before.
These are some of the elected party leaders who spoke. The Senate President, who heads a caucus, the House of Reps Speaker, who heads a caucus, and of course, one of the most influential caucus of the party is the governor. They held a national caucus meeting before this meeting of today to set the agenda for this meeting. But let me allow you to listen to the supreme leader of the APC, who is the president of the nation. President Bola Tinubu. Take a listen to him.
The rest of the world, the economy is unraveling here and there, both in Europe and America. We are seeing growth. We are seeing gradual return to prosperity. The National Working Committee is doing a very good job. And I'm just happy with them. And I feel that you should be happy with them too. Yes, a little conflict in various states. Let's set up any committee of service to look into lingering problems in some states. Appeal to these party leaders in various states to please be calm.
All right, then, let's get some more insight on the outcome, perhaps a way forward for the APC. I'm being joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Felix Moka, is live for us here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So congratulations. At last, your party is able to hold a NEC meeting.
Are you congratulating us?
I'm saying to you.
We will accept it.
Do you think that
you should congratulate us, actually. You should.
Yeah, because it's been difficult for you to hold a NEC
meeting. It hasn't been difficult.
But you held one at last.
No, it hasn't been difficult to hold a NEC meeting. I mean, we scheduled a NEC meeting last year, but we had to postpone because, all of the alignments we needed to make the meeting happen. We're not, there. Look, it's not that easy to negotiate a convenient date when you're dealing with, so many leaders who have very busy schedule. Our president has been very busy, traveling, making the case for Nigeria, and all the other leaders in their respective, roles are also very busy. So even just negotiating a convenient date takes time. But anyhow, I think, we have, today has come and we held our meeting and we are very pleased with the outcome. It was well attended. The energy was very high. I think that, as you heard some of our leaders speak, each one took the time to speak to issues of the party, internal issues, issues about the state of the nation. And overall, I think the assessment was really upbeat.
So the reason why it perhaps become more of a worry about whether or not you hold a meeting is what the law says about the statutorily how you should conduct the affairs of the party. Then it concerns people who are not even members of your party if you are not following the dictate of your party's own constitution, which says and stipulates when and the frequency of the NEC meeting, for example. That is why it's a worry. Is it not a worry for your party?
Ideally, we would like to have our meetings on schedule. Ideally. But sometimes things don't turn out that way. Like I said, I mean, the many factors, at play when you want to bring the entire leadership of the party, at least the highest level leadership. And don't forget that, NEC is about the highest decision-making organ of the party outside of the National Convention. And, the National Convention doesn't happen every day. It happens, every 4 years, unless there's a special convention. But in between conventions, NEC is that body that is empowered to make decisions for the party. NEC in turn also cedes some of its authority to the National Working Committee to make decisions, that cannot wait for the convening of NEC. The point I'm making, Shehu, is that, I think we tend to blow this things out of proportion. Now, let me say this. NEC has the authority to recommend even amendments to the Constitution, to the National Convention. So when we speak about these timelines as though, yes, they're constitutional, they're there, they're supposed to guide the party, and we respect them, but sometimes it just doesn't fall in line. That it doesn't fall in line does not mean that the party is without governance or is lacking in quality governance. It doesn't mean that. Anyone who knows APC knows that since under the leadership of this national chairman, Dr. Ganduje, he has made it mandatory that the party meets, at least once every week at the National Working Committee level, once every week. And so a party that meets once every week and occasionally twice a week, sometimes even 3 times a week, deliberating on issues as they arise. I don't think anyone should suggest that party is not in any way.
Confirm to me, right or wrong,
yes,
that the NEC, the meeting before this one, had delegated the NWC to act on his behalf and given it some powers of NEC.
Some limited powers.
Yes, but as a lawyer of long years standing, delegation of powers doesn't mean that the statutory meeting schedule as provided by the Constitution shouldn't be met. Those are two different things. No, and I'm not sure at that NEC it states that you should not hold meetings as long as NWC. And the reason why I'm asking this question and why it is critical is that you need to know where your party stand in the society in Nigeria. It is the party that runs the affairs of this country, and as such, if your party is not able to hold abide by its own constitution, how can your party, how should it be respected? Because you have a standard to which Nigerians should hold your party, and these are the reasons why we are asking. It's a constitutional breach if you do not follow your party's constitution.
No, Shehu, that's a totally false presentation on the logic of our NEC meeting and the party's, if you will, leadership, especially the government. We're discussing APC, the party. We're not discussing the National Assembly or the executive branch.
Are those running the party? Are those running the government not in your party?
No,
are they the leaders or not?
No, let me answer your question. They're members of our party. But the point I'm making, Shehu, is that you keep saying we couldn't hold NEC meeting. No, we didn't hold NEC meeting until now.
You failed to hold the NEC meeting?
No, we didn't hold NEC meeting. We scheduled our NEC meeting last year. Like I said, the alignment we needed wasn't there. We postponed. So, in any human organization, there are circumstances that arise that warrant postponement. That, postponement is not cancellation. It's not saying we will not hold that meeting.
But you did not hold it based on what the party constitution says. That's the point I made. And I'm glad that you're a lawyer and I'm asking you things that relate to the law of your party.
And I'm answering you. And if you listen, you will get the point I'm making, which I'm going to repeat. I said to you that last year we scheduled a NEC meeting. We couldn't hold it, meaning we postponed it. Today, we have held the NEC meeting in honor of our Constitution. Now, I also said to you that, yes, you keep waiving the Constitution. That is our Constitution, we respect it. But, the operators of the Constitution are party members and party leaders who operate the Constitution. They created the Constitution and they operate the Constitution. As I said, NEC is the highest decision-making body outside of the National Convention. So, for example, if NEC wanted to tinker with the Constitution, like they did today with respect to the composition of members of NEC, NEC is able and is empowered by the same Constitution to recommend to the National Convention, that such changes be made. For example, today at the NEC meeting, it was agreed that a committee be set up, a committee led by Governor May Malabuni, to look to review the composition of membership of NEC under the Constitution with a view to expanding that membership to include other authorities. For example, it was said in the conversations, people like the former, Senate presidents who today are not members, former principal officers of, say the National Assembly, who today are not members of NEC. But the idea is that with this committee, they will discuss it and decide who and who, are, necessary to be included in the membership. NEC has that authority to make changes to propose changes to the Constitution, which ultimately is approved by the National Convention. So when a meeting becomes impossible, members of NEC were fully aware that we didn't hold this meeting, but a meeting was scheduled. Yeah. And today we've met that requirement, and we're very pleased.
Yeah, without having to belabor it, but you do know that it's also, if you set a standard for yourself, it's also good to be held by the same standard, not the other standard. But I don't want us to belabor the matter. Belabor the matter so that we can focus on some of the...
on that final point, on that final note, without belaboring the matter, we must understand. First of all, this government came in under 2 years ago. And, we scheduled a meeting, which didn't happen. I've seen a lot of, negative commentary by even, members of, our party who are still members of our party, making a lot of, very, sad commentary about this, suggesting, but if anything was going wrong in our party, we will not have 18 people, members of the National Assembly, who are pouring in from the opposition into our party. Because if you see all of them, all the reasons they gave is because of the instability in their party. And these are people who are well, meaning, who are making informed decisions to leave the opposition parties to come into the APC. On the last count, about 18, members of the National Assembly into our party. Now, I don't think we're at that level that suggests that there's anything untoward going on in our party. It's just a meeting we postponed that we have had today.
What can you tell us about some other outcomes as deliberated behind closed door?
Yes, well, some of them I've already touched upon. For example, the meeting did, today recognize that the country, when this president took power nearly 2 years ago, was, heavily challenged, especially on the economic front, on the security front. Now, this president, took over at a time when things were really difficult for the country. But the conversation was really, very real today. People speaking from, various sectors and giving, what you call a state of address, both on the economic front and on the, national security front. And, one after the other, they laid out clear evidence, indications, verifiable indications of progress across the sectors of the economy. And, even some who held, who were very concerned in the beginning about, say, the, removal of subsidy, about, the floating of Naira, today, came forward to say that, they're really pleasantly surprised that things are swinging, in the right direction. So there was a lot of realistic conversation about what's going on in the country. And at the end of the day, the NEC unanimously passed a vote of confidence on the president, urging him to do even more than he's already doing to ensure that, Nigerians begin to feel fully the benefit of the reforms that he has started. And I must say reforms that, other presidents before him simply preferred to, just pushed down to the next president, whereas he took the bull by the horn and has brought this country now on a path, and not just of recovery, but a position for better growth.
Were members and the leaders of your party able to tell? Were you able to tell yourselves the truth where you are also failing as a group running the affairs of this country?
No, like I said, the meeting was, like a very, I think, sober reflection. It wasn't anything that was, upbeat in terms of, gloating or celebration. People were very, clear. They laid out areas that, needed improvement. Even on the economic front. The fact that, we are not where we need to be, but we're on our way there. And so, I think that taking stock of progress shouldn't be, just to focus on, what remains to be done. There's a whole lot that remains to be done. The president himself, in his comments, did, emphasize that he is working hard, trying to open up, various, fronts to, tackle the economic problem, tackle insecurity, and actually, bring more development to the
because
country.
it's going to be important rather than pat yourselves on the back and think that you're running the most fantastic government in the world. It's also better to look at ways by which areas that things are really not going well, like budget performance and the rest of it, and the state of the economy, and how the shoe is pinching some Nigerians.
Absolutely.
But let me also ask, your party, as stated by the national chairman, said that the party inherited over 8 billion naira in debt, and this is owing to litigation issues. How are you going to, did the party at the NEC meeting agree on how to offset these bills?
Well, the debt, as you just mentioned, came mostly from legal fees. Because when, as a party, you run elections, primaries even, sometimes lead to litigation, and the party bears financial responsibility for quite a good chunk of some of those bills. So, but as the national chairman said, we're working to negotiate with all of the parties involved to see how we can bring this down.
So you are owing lawyers simply?
Basically, just fees for services rendered, especially for primary cases, but also election challenges. But this figure was what was inherited. He didn't, that's not the actual now, because, as he said, a national legal advisor and a committee that was set up of the National Working Committee has been working really hard with all of the parties to, renegotiate and find ways to bring this down. So, it's coming down. But today, our financial statements were approved by NEC. And within that statement, yes, there are...
What is the financial state of the party as presented today?
What is the
financial state of the party? The bottom line, the baseline of your party's financial state as of today as presented to NEC?
Our baseline is good. It's good.
You're in deficit. If you are owing 8 billion in legal fees, I can imagine what other areas of your finances will look like.
Our finances are good. What the chairman did today was, this is NEC. When we go to NEC, we report from the last NEC to the present NEC. So the chairman laid out that figure, which is trending now, as the what was the liability that was inherited when he assumed office as national chairman. But that is not the full picture. It's just saying. But of course, I know the media has picked that up as a point to discuss, but which is fine, because at the party as well, this national chairman works hard to be as transparent with the leadership as possible, and that's why all of the facts, were presented to NEC today, and which were considered.
I'd like to know when the party, the NWC, in this sense, sent out the notices of this meeting.
I don't have the exact timelines, but adequate notice was provided.
When you mean adequate, what kind of timeline? Is it based on the stipulated timeline?
I can find out when the notices were, sent out.
It's supposed to be between 14 to 21 days.
That's not out of my own,
So the reason I'm asking is that former President Buhari, for example, said he couldn't attend because the notice only came yesterday to him. It was sent to him on Monday, arrived only yesterday. Someone like Malam Nasir El-Rufai had said he was not going to attend because he has not seen, at the time that he spoke, he has not seen the notice of the meeting, and it's supposed to take a certain number of days. It meant that quite a number of people, former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amici, was obviously absent, and a series of people were absent. And it raises a very big question mark into the cohesion within your party and some of the underlying issues that is bedeviling your party.
No. Today, it was a roll call of, eminence of members who attended this meeting today. The same way notices were sent to El-Rufai, I believe, was how notices were sent to these other members who got their notices and attended. Many of them don't live in Abuja. They made plans and traveled to be at this meeting today. If El-Rufai, wanted to be at the meeting, I bet you, he would have come.
Same with Amici.
He's a member of, by the way, and again, let me not say this because El-Rufai, I don't know. I'll have to check. Whether he's a member of NEC or of caucus. I think he's certainly a member of caucus, but I don't know that he's a member of NEC. I mean, I stand to be corrected.
So, but it was not at the caucus meeting yesterday.
Is the caucus meeting you're speaking to?
No, I'm speaking to.
No, he wasn't at the caucus meeting.
Usually, some of the caucus meeting precedes the
NEC,
because you make some decision.
The agenda
that will
of NEC
is the NEC meeting.
Yes, correct.
So if he wasn't at the caucus meeting, he said he had not to receive at the time that we were speaking.
Look, I can't speak to El-Rufai's account. I mean, I've not talked to him and he hasn't talked to me, and I don't know exactly what he's saying or when.
How does your party receive some of the criticism coming from?
We receive it. I mean,
about the state of your party, the running of the affairs of the country, and how things are in your party at the moment.
Our party is running, as efficiently as possible. Not that it's running perfectly. We're running the party as efficiently as possible. Shewan, I think that the evidence is out there. I mean, are you going to compare the party APC with some of the opposition parties and the mayhem going on within those parties? Look, perfection is an ideal. Everyone strives to be perfect. We are not perfect. But, our party is running as cohesively as possible. And where there are problems, we acknowledge it. The president today at this meeting was very clear. He said that, the National Working Committee, under the leadership of NEC, must take, more steps to bring people who are disagreeing in the party together to create, more committees or strengthen existing committees.
How are you doing
to address all that?
How are you doing that?
First, we have, standing committees on, standing reconciliation committee, of the party that is populated by, eminent leaders of the party who have mandates and are often, given assignments to go tackle cases where we have issues within members or within chapters of our party. What the president was urging, NEC and the NWC to do is to even, escalate that effort to ensure that, many of these cases where we have issues are brought, within, conversations and reasonable settlements so that the party can continue to, forge a united front. So, but the presence of that does not mean that the party is, lacking.
Luke man is speaking and saying that things are wrong in your party, and El-Rufai is saying that things are wrong in your party, and Amici is clearly unhappy with what is going on in the party.
Four individuals.
Are you worried?
No, please. Our party has millions of members.
I'm talking about the caliber of these persons, Mr. Moka. These are not just members of your party. They are leaders.
We have
founding members of your party.
Please. We have members and leaders of equal or even superior caliber in our party who are participating in the governance of the party and in the activities of the party.
So it doesn't matter if an El-Rufai is agreed.
Those are your words.
Amechi is
no,
agreed.
Please.
I'm asking, does it matter?
Please, let me answer you. You know, whether it matters or not, that's your language. As I said, El-Rufai, you know, former Governor Rotimi Amechi, anyone else, you know, Lukman, these are citizens of Nigeria. Under our constitution of the country and of the party, they're free to express themselves. But, you know, when people speak from, you know, this, you know, from a grievance-driven, you know, sort of thinking, you can hear that. I don't want to go, you know, I mean, personal with anybody, but when people have a grievance and they want to express it, that is fine. I mean, we listen to it.
It is a matter of how they were being treated and perhaps speaking.
How was Lukman treated? How was El-Rufai treated? How was Rotimi Amechi treated? You see, look,
El-Rufai, for example.
No, please.
As a grounds.
These individuals have a right to, you know, engage as they choose. It's their freedom. When they express an opinion, I think it's wrong for anyone to take their opinion and frame it, you know, against the opinions and the views and the, you know, the decision of the, you know, generality of the party.
Question. Are you, you're a key member of the NWC. Yes. If you're unhappy with something about the ongoings in the party, and
I will express it.
Does it make your opinion less?
But I have not said that anybody's opinion is less important. I have not said that El-Rufai's views are less important. I'm saying that when somebody has a grievance and you speak, you know, in the consciousness of your grievance, doesn't mean you are necessarily the most rational in your conversation. Sometimes you can be irrational. Grievance can drive you to irrationality. And I think that some of the comments I've been hearing recently are not, you know, quite frankly, you know, formed in that stellar, you know, state of mind, you know, by El-Rufai. I think that he needs to really take an advisory. And, you know, this is somebody we all respect, you know, I mean, former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai. But I think that when you begin to, you know, speak and, you know, attack the party, if El-Rufai was, you know, a serving member of this government, I doubt that, you know, this arguments he's made recently, he'll be making them. I doubt that very much. You know, even some of the critique he's offered of the performance of the administration, you know, everyone, even analysts and experts, are, you know, building towards consensus that the economy is beginning to show, you know, sign of, you know, life and, you know, vibrancy in the direction that we need it to go. Are we there? We're not. But that's not a reason for anyone to speak in a manner that is just dismissive of the efforts, the very valiant efforts of this president. I think that would be just cheeky and wrong.
Felix Moka, he's the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. Thank you so much indeed for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll take a break, everyone, but when we return, we'll be speaking with Honorable Cyril Godwin. He's a member of the House of Representatives, and the tax reform bills of President Tinubu and the committee who presented some of the drafting of it are facing public scrutiny. We'll be getting insight into some of the questions that are being raised. We'll be right back after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So today, the House of Representatives held a public hearing on the tax reform bills. Let me allow you to take a listen quickly to some of the soundbite that came out of that public scrutiny of the proposition.
Of this bill is to streamline tax processes, simplify tax administration, strengthen enforcement of tax laws, and progressively reduce the cost of revenue collection. And of course, finally, the Nigeria Joint Revenue Service Bill, Joint Board Service Bill. This bill seeks to establish the Joint Revenue Board, the Tax Appeal Tribunal, and the Office of Tax Ombudsman for the harmonization, coordination, promotion of the rights of taxpayers and tax dispute resolution.
Trade Union Congress of Nigeria have identified 4 key concerns with the bill. Number 1, gradual increment of VAT from the current 7.5% to 15%. Mr. Chairman and respected members, The TUC rejects the gradual increment of VAT from 7.5% to 15%. Our reason is simple. Allowing the value-added tax VAT rate to remain at 7.5% is in the best interest of the nation, as increasing it will place additional burden on Nigerians, many of whom are already struggling with the economic challenges and realities. At a time when inflation is on the rise, unemployment is on the rise, higher taxes will further strain households and businesses, which eventually might slow down the economy. So we are strongly of the opinion that VAT should remain at 7.5%, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then you heard some of the proposition and the debate over the bill. Of course, we know that the Senate has held its own two-day session in the public presentation and the debate over the tax reform bills. I'm being joined by a member of the House of Representatives representing the Gema in the federal constituency in the House of from Rivers State, Honorable Cyril Godwin Hart. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. How did it go today? It does look like there are propositions. People disagreed on some of the proposition in the tax reform bills. But from your own point of view, where do you think we stood today based on the debate from some of those who attended the public hearing?
Okay, thanks, Shehu. I think for me, I would say that it was a seamless meeting today, because if you look at all that was said by those who made their presentations, from the trade union to Nigerian customs and to the civil society organizations, it centered around those issues that were, in quotes, considered controversial. So there's nothing new that played out today during the public hearing. In fact, one thing I must say is that the consultation, the extensive consultation by the committee has actually made the public hearing quite seamless, because you could see that virtually everybody was just saying the same thing. And in overall, I think it was a nice outing. We received about 35 memoranda, and we were able to take about, say, 10 or 11 or thereabouts. So we continue from tomorrow. So I think the usual thing.
What stood out for you today in those debates, in the asking of some Nigerians who participated, members of public who attended today? What stood out for you?
Two things. One, the position canvassed by Nigerian customs. You know, he made the point as though the bills were to repeal the Nigerian customs service. And the explanation we have, and from what we have also seen in the bill, in fact, the chairman of the committee had to ask the question to the Comptroller General of Customs to tell him what section in the bill says they are repealing customs. So he only made reference to where the bill talks about custom duties to be collected. And it's important to make this point, that this bill or set of bills, the one in question is actually the Nigerian tax bill, is not called FRS bill. What it simply means is that it's a framework, a legal framework for all the taxes that we're supposed to collect in country. So what it means is that customs will still collect their duties and remit to the treasury. So it's not repealing customs, that's one. And the other part is the issue of inheritance taxes. In fact, that came very strongly from two speakers. Now, again, the sections, they are citing sections 4.3. You know, this is public hearing. Members are not supposed to make an input. Ours is just to listen from the publics and fill their polls and get our opposition and see how we can clean up and harmonize. So this inheritance tax, again, came up very strongly from, I think, the committee of FCT Imams Initiative made the point. The prof made the point very strongly on that inheritance. So for me, I think we still also have to allow it. When we come back with retreat, we have to look at all those positions and see if we're actually expunging, because that's what they're saying. We should expunge that section completely. Again, the issue of derivation, so of course, came up. that we should leave it at how the Governors Forum proposed the derivation and all other recommendations from the Nigerian Governors Forum. So for me, those were the issues that actually played out today.
So in all of this, there are issues that literally divided the nation, the Nigerian people, and about the intentions of the drafters of the bills and the proposition. Of course, this bill will be repealing existing old laws, which means that we are entering into another regime that will allow us to see new operations of the law. So in essence, today, did you see some of the major arguments that are being pushed forward before now? Those who think that there were some inconsistencies and some imbalances or injustices that might come out of this bill if it's passed the way it is.
The fact remains that this bill actually has some consequential amendments of other bills that must happen. That's very clear. Nobody is disputing that. So, like I said, the issues are still the same issues. The issues on VAT, the issues on derivation, the issues on inheritance tax, the issues of, like the NLNG, they made their case. They're saying, why are you asking us to pay tax monthly? Why not annually? And why not annually? Now, the committee, that is the tax reform committee, their thinking is that the upstream sector is actually paying taxes monthly. So all oil and gas sectors are supposed to pay their taxes monthly. What is the idea? They said it is wrong for the Nigerian LNG to hold back government funds or revenue or tax and pay it after 12 calendar months. So we want it every month so we can have enough dollar inflow to actually help the Naira. So you can see the argument from the committee seems very valid. So like I said, this is public hearing. Our opinion is not sought here. So when we retreat, we look at all those issues.
What exactly is the grievance of those who are speaking on the issue of inheritance tax?
Good. Now, the section 4.3, it talks about family income. Their opinion is that you don't have to tax family income. So, but what is the committee saying? I mean, the tax reform committee. Their argument is that you cannot hide under a family and do business and expect us not to tax you. Some persons there are families that have estates. So they lease these estates out because they are family properties. They say, no, it's owned by families, so you can't tax it. So the committee, the tax reform committee is saying, no, because you're actually doing business with these properties, whether family or not, that you're supposed to tax. Again, the persons living with disability, also there's an argument around them being excluded. I don't have any problem with excluding people living with disabilities, but I have a question to ask. And what's the question? How do we define who is disabled and shouldn't pay tax? Because we have billionaires on wheelchairs running companies and conglomerates. Then we now have very able men and women who are poor, who earn less than $1 million annually. So how do you really define who is disabled and exempt them? So that's the question I have to pose to ask them. I'm not against it because disability can happen to anyone. But who is disabled here? Is it the billionaire that sits on the wheelchair?
So in essence, the part of it and the reason why we are having this engagement, and we've made promise to ourselves as Channel Television that we will stay on top of this debate as it's happening in the National Assembly, so that Nigerians are up to speed with what is happening, and these inquisitions will go on. We want to see what becomes, at the end of the day, those bills, because there are a lot of misconceptions that came afterwards. Some of the belief and some of the proposition is that there will be a staggered increase in VAT over the years, an initial 10%, 15%, and all of that. Were there arguments against it?
There were very strong arguments against increment of VAT. In fact, that was in line with also the Nigerian Governors Forum position. Do not increase VAT. Do not reduce CIT. Do not exclude TED Fund, NASENI, and NITDA from benefiting from the development levy. So those issues actually came out today. So some persons were reinforcing the Nigerian Governors Forum's position. And like I said, this is public hearing. Our MPs are not needed. We'll sit down. We'll consider the Governors Forum's position as their own memorandum. So we are also taking other memoranda from other Nigerians. We'll sit back when we retreat. We'll look at all those positions and we'll clean it up, have a harmonized report and send to the House. Then we'll begin to do clause-by-clause consideration.
Were there members of the Tax Reform Committee, the Presidential Task Force? Were they?
Yeah,
Taiwo
was there, but unfortunately, he didn't have the opportunity to speak and clarify most of these issues that were raised by the public. He will have that opportunity by God's grace tomorrow to clarify these issues. And I would like to hear him clarify those issues.
There are a few people who said also that they were not able to speak today. They were scheduled to speak
tomorrow.
So, I mean, they were scheduled to speak today, but they couldn't
Time. You know, I must give it to the chairman. You understand the circumstances we have around these bills. The chairman was very patient with all the speakers. He told us, in fact, do not disrupt any Nigerian. If they want to speak for 15 minutes, let them speak. Let Nigerians hear them. So that became a constraint, and that was why we could not take all those who were scheduled to speak. But I guarantee, tomorrow they will all have their time.
In essence, what would you say is the future of our revenue? Because this idea is to plug loopholes and the leakages and ensure that you widen the tax net and capture as many people as possible and tax responsibility, citizen tax responsibility to the state is upheld and people are fairly being treated, and the formula and the model of sharing is equitable and also reasonable. And in all of these, do you see this happening in some of the arguments? Are we headed for something that will make Nigerians happy? Essentially, whether or not Nigerians will not be burdened more than they are already carrying.
At this point, I think I have to take the time to thank Mr. President for his courage. It took a president that has the courage for him to bring this set of bills. Some persons have said, why all four at the same time? And my question is, why not all the four? We're in a hurry to develop. We're in a hurry to catch up with the rest of the world. And that is why we must give these bills the total support. I thank him for his courage. Then I also thank the Speaker, how he managed the House. See, I tell you, at some point, it was as though the House was going to burn down. But the Speaker, by God's wisdom, managed every member. In fact, when we had the second reading of the bill, he said, I will sit here and listen to all 359 of you speak. I will sit here and listen to all 359 of you speak. Make your contributions. Let your constituents hear you. And he did that, and we all made our contributions and our position, which we are still going to do when we come to clause-by-clause consideration. This bill is timely. This bill, I'm very hopeful, is going to really help us have more revenue to run government. And actually, ultimately, Nigerians are going to benefit from it.
Honorable Godwin Cyril Hart, member of the House of Representatives, thank you so much indeed for the time tonight. And we'll be looking and monitoring how these things go. But how's your state in Rivers? How are things going?
Very peaceful. Rivers is peaceful.
Are you pro-Wike or pro-Fubara?
Of course, you know.
You are pro-Fubara?
No, I'm on the side of truth. I'm with Wike.
You're a Wike's man?
I'm a Wike's man.
All right. All right, then that's our program tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimberly. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. God bless Nigeria.